Today let's take a look at how to set up a mobile house of worship system. Our worship band today will consist of a guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, a worship leader playing acoustic guitar and ukulele, and a second singer. We'll also have a separate wireless mic for the pastor. For our system today, we've gone as compact and efficient as possible to minimize the number of trips in from the vehicle. We want to make things easy to get into the venue, easy to set up, and easy to tear down as well. We've gone with a compact PA system consisting of 2 subwoofers, one on each side of the stage, and each of those will be topped with a main speaker as well. For monitoring, we'll be using personal mix boxes, and each musician and singer will have their own set of headphones. Everything will be routed through a digital mixer for easy control. So let's begin. We'll take a step-by-step approach to how we're setting things up. I like to start by positioning the musicians and the vocalists on stage. So I've got my guitar, my bass, my keyboard, my drums, my 2 front people set up where they'll be standing on stage, and now let's set up their instruments for them. The guitar player will be playing direct. They're using a Line 6 Helix LT, which plugs straight into the PA system, no microphones required. The bass player likewise will go direct, and they're using a Tech 21 fly rig. The keyboard connects directly into the mixer, and all 3 of these musicians will hear their sounds coming back to them through their headphones. On the drum kit, we'll position some microphones just to give a slight amount of reinforcement through the sound system, and if we're playing a larger venue, we can really push those drums through as well. The acoustic guitar and ukulele will be played through an LR Baggs Venue preamp and direct box. And we have 3 vocal mics on stage, one for the keyboard player, one for the second singer, and one for the worship leader. And again, we'll also have a wireless lav system for our pastor. My goal when I'm setting up a stage like this is to make it clean, neat, and safe for the performers. So I'll go ahead and position my Helix, my fly rig, and my venue. And then later, when we finish setting things up and all the cables are routing, I'll go back through with gaff tape, secure all the cables down, make sure everything's neat and there's no danger of anyone tripping as they walk around on the stage. The other thing I'll do as I'm setting up the instruments is set up my power drops. We need to have outlet boxes available for the musicians, we need to have some for the PA stacks, so I'm actually using 4 on this stage. I've got 1 between the drums, the bass, and the guitar. I've got 1 stage left for the mixer and for the PA system. I've put 1 in the center of the stage just for a drop at the front there if we need to plug something in. And then I've got 1 on stage right behind the PA stack for connecting that stack as well as the keyboards. And here's a pro tip for you. You can never have too many extension cords, power drop boxes, or too much gaff tape in your gig bags. I've got 2 bags today. One is a Sweetwater duffel bag that I use for hauling around all my cables, and the other one is a Planet Waves bag that holds my microphones and some of my accessories as well. One more tip for you, turn your power on last. So when you set up your power drops, turn the power off on those boxes, make all your connections, get everything entirely set up, and then when you're ready to go, turn the power on. This prevents any accidental bangs, thumps, or pops from coming through the PA system. Let's begin setting up our sound system. We'll start by positioning our subwoofers. I have a pair of QSC KS212C subs. Now I like these subs because they're cardioid. Most subwoofers send energy out in all directions at the same time, and this can sometimes create problems in certain rooms. A cardioid sub allows you to have a lot more control over how the bass energy is being directed in the room. The subs are positioned 1 on each side of the stage to balance out the room, and I position them as far forward on the stage as possible so that we get our performer microphones behind them. This will help prevent any feedback in the microphones. Now the KS212C subwoofers can actually be positioned laying down horizontally or standing up vertically. I have them vertically today to give us just a little bit more height, and this will give us a little more throw in the room. Our next step will be to add the tops to our PA stacks. I'm using 2 QSC K12.2 speakers. Now these are powered monitors, and they slide right into poles that insert into the tops of our subwoofers. We insert the threaded pole into the subwoofer and then slide the speaker onto the top of the pole. The K12 actually has 2 sockets on the bottom for the pole. One of these will position the speaker so it's facing straight forward, and I'm using that today, again for maximum throw in the room. The second socket will angle the speaker down slightly. If you're on a raised stage or your congregation is sitting down, you might want to use that downward angled socket. Now be aware that any PA speaker can be heavy. 1 person could position these, but it's easier and safer if 2 people do it. One other thing that's worth mentioning, when you get speakers placed on top of subwoofers this tall, you want to make sure that they're very stable. So you'll need to ensure that either your subwoofers are on the side, which is a more stable position, or you'll want to secure those subwoofers in place. Now let's get our digital mixing console set up. Now for today's video, I'm going to put this right on the side of the stage. But we could put this anywhere within the venue. If you have a sound engineer that's helping you out, it could be placed back in the room. If you're running sound yourself, it could be on stage like this. Either way works fine. I've got an Allen & Heath SQ6, which is a digital mixer, and it connects to an onstage stage box, the DX168. This allows us to run just one thin cable from the stage box to the mixer, and then the mixer can be positioned anywhere. The stage box accepts all the inputs from our microphones and from our instruments, and it also routes the outputs back to our speakers and our headphone boxes. Now we'll connect our PA speakers to our stage box. Now how you do this will vary depending on the types of speakers you have, the type of stage box or mixer you have, and so on, so consult the manual for your gear, but the basics are you connect from the stage box into the subwoofer. The subwoofer actually handles dividing the frequencies, so the low frequencies go through the sub, while the mid and high frequencies go through the top speakers. So we'll run one connection from the stage box out to the input of the subwoofer. Next we'll connect from the output of the subwoofer to the input of the top speaker. Here are two quick tips for you. First of all, it's handy to have some sort of flashlight or use the light in your phone if you're on a dimly lit stage. This will help you see clearly as you're making your connections. Second, I like to route my cables in terms of signal flow, and this way it keeps it straight in my head. I don't get confused. So I connect the output from the stage box first, route the cable, come to the input of the subwoofer, the output of the subwoofer, and then up to the top speaker because that's the way the signal flows. Now let's set up our personal monitor mixers for our 6 performers on stage. I have 6 ME500s from Allen & Heath, and these connect daisy chain fashion so we can hook them all one after the other and cover all of our musicians that way. We begin by connecting a Cat5 cable from the link output on the stage box to the input on the drummer's ME500. We'll also run power from the drummer's ME500 back to our power drop. Next, we'll daisy chain from the drummer's ME500 to the input on the bass player's ME500, and we'll connect his power supply to the power drop as well. We'll use a longer cable to link the bass player's ME500 with the guitar player's ME500. We'll begin in this fashion, linking our ME500s with Cat5 cables. So we'll route out of the guitar players into the second vocalist. Now we'll chain from the second vocalist to the worship leader. And finally, we'll route from the worship leader back to the keyboard ME500. One thing to note with the ME500s, we're using power cables because we aren't using a powered hub. With a PoE powered hub, we wouldn't have to have those power supplies, and it keeps our stage cleaner with fewer cables. Having said that, you may have noticed that there are a lot of cables running around the stage. Keep in mind at the end, we'll go through, tape those down, make sure everything is safe, secure, and neatly routed. Now we'll connect our instrument outputs to the inputs on the stage box. The bass with its fly rig has an XLR output, and we'll connect that directly into input 1. Next up, we'll connect the left and right outs from our Helix LT for the guitar player. These are also XLRs, so we'll route those straight into inputs 2 and 3. And we'll keep track of which one is left and which one is right so we can pan them properly if we're working in stereo. Finally, we'll route the 2 outputs from our keyboard back to the stage box. Now the keyboard doesn't have XLR outputs, so we'll use 2 direct boxes to convert the impedance. This allows us to make a longer cable run. We'll take 1/4-inch outputs from the keyboard, plug into our 2 direct boxes, then we'll take the XLR outs from our direct box, route them behind the drums, and connect them to inputs 4 and 5 on our stage box. Next, we'll mic up our drums. We'll begin with the snare and the 2 toms. I've got 3 ATM 350D drum mics, and these clip right onto the lugs of the drums, makes them very easy to position. For our kick drum, we're using a V-kick from SE Electronics. And as a pair of stereo overheads, we have SE8s, also from SE Electronics. For our drum overheads, we're using a very cool dual mic stand from Triad Orbit. It's actually on wheels, so I can position the microphones and then roll it right into place. Once our drums are placed, we'll connect them to the stage box. Here's a pro tip for you that'll make things faster and easier when you're mounting microphones like an SE V-kick or any mic clip onto a mic stand. It's easier to hold the mic clip or the mic in place and to actually rotate the stand. Just loosen the set screw, rotate the stand shaft, and when it's tight in the mic clip, go back and tighten down the set screw. Now let's get our microphones ready to go. We have 3 singers. Our worship leader in the center will be using a Shure KSM-8. We'll mount that to the stand and run their cable. Next up, our second vocalist is using a Shure SM58. We'll mount that to the stand and route their cable. Finally, the keyboardist is also singing, and they're using a Shure SM58 microphone. We'll mount it to the stand and run their cable. Finally, we'll provide a wireless lavalier system for our pastor to speak during the service. The receiver pack has an XLR output, and we'll connect that to the input on the stage box. The wireless transmitter and the lav mic will go with the pastor. At this point, our final step is to get those cables run neatly so there's no danger of tripping, there aren't big coils of wire sticking out anywhere, so we'll make it all look neat and clean for our musicians so they can safely be on stage without worry about tripping or tangling in cables. The very last thing is to turn on power to our system. First, power up your power drops, turn on your gear, and last of all, turn on your speakers. Thanks for joining me for this look at how to set up a mobile house of worship system. If you have questions about anything you've seen here or any of the gear we've used today, contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click here for more videos like these, or start at sweetwater.com for all your music instrument and pro audio needs.